Thank you. I was asked to moderate the question, so I don't have any intention to moderate, but maybe if I find some needs for some limit too long speech or time keep, and also some I hope I can do some questions, but anyway, I think many people who would like to talk here, so I'd like to have some interesting, fruitful discussion, inspiring discussion here. Can you start?
Yeah, I'll start first. So I think as you mentioned earlier in the remark, I think the data flow or collection of data is most important in this field. So technology of AI itself is not really difficult, as you mentioned earlier, but if we don't have enough data or lots of data, we cannot utilize this technology. But in this country, we had the bad government regulations such as privacy laws, and also in the field of medical sector, where we can enjoy more benefits of this technology. The data is not allowed to be used to analyze. Fortunately, the new law called Medical Big Data Law was launched, is going to be launched now, but there are so many regulations, also barriers in order to use the data. So I think the data flow is very important. So the question is how we can promote to understand, to make people understand that the flow of information is important.
Any comments?
So in terms of data collections, for example, we have gathered more than 200,000 students' data. We just try to generate this data by ourselves. It means each of our students has a smartphone. So by just evaluating each other, we're going to get just accumulate this data. One issue it might be interesting is right now our data is on AWS, Amazon servers. In other words, US companies' database. But interestingly, when we worked with Abu Dhabi government, they never allow us to put the data on AWS, but in Jazad, which is Abu Dhabi government data servers part. So just in other words, why is there so many regulations in Japan? On the other hand, the data itself, Japanese government and further Japanese companies are not so sensitive to data holdings, because so many Japanese companies use just Google or further Amazon's without enough cares. So maybe it might be interesting to raise in this part related to your question.
But recently, people came to realize the importance of data. So the many companies are now trying to conceal their own data rather than giving up to people for the public use. So that's a big problem.
Yeah, but we need to think about blockchain. So if we are going to use blockchain further, so all this data on public. But of course, permission-based blockchain and other paths might be used. And also, on the other hand, as Sekiguchi-san pointed out, clear Facebook, Google, and it is, try to not to disclose this data to the outside. But also from our side, even if we are going to disclose this data to outside of the companies, we can't get any profits from this. And this is a pros and cons, because we create data, and that's at least we need some profits, by doing this. And this is a kind of profit and loss, also issues for private companies. But equally, this data is going to be collected by the government. In Abu Dhabi, it is okay, but in Japan, many people are more, nervous. Why just the Japanese government collect data, but rather which can we believe in the nation or in companies? It's a very interesting question.
Some of the, I think some of the data from the nature of the data should be closed. Something like very personal, for example, loan data, and to make that new business based on more open use of the data, we need some mechanism to collect those data. Just giving up the privilege of the data is not realistic. So I think some of the entrepreneurship of making business, that's collect data and also analyze data very vertically, horizontally. That kind of initiative needs to be done. But, right now, no company is doing that kind of business, because right now many companies are trying to utilize data and AI to enhance the existing business, just increment or improvement of the existing business. But the major impact, in my opinion, would be very different and big, aggregation of data and analysis
Yeah,
and
sure.
feedback. And it's very difficult, but somebody will find a way. Just like, in year 2000, Google has started that kind of initiative in a search
So that's,
domain.
in that sense, I think Google, Facebook, Amazon, those companies are very, very strong because their customer base is so big and so huge. And then they ask their users to sign up their contract when they try to use. So they can collect all the data and then they can use their own data within their boundary. But in this country, all companies are so separated, or there are many silos, and that they cannot share the same data.
I think that's a very different story. Consumer data. I think consumer data, Google, Facebook is inferior to Chinese companies. The number of companies, number of people is very huge.
Yeah, but that's why Chinese
Yeah.
companies are very strong, like
Yeah.
Baidu
So,
or
but
the-
many other problems that doesn't matter the number of people. I think we should not compete with the problem that is strongly influenced by the number of users.
I think also
We cannot compete.
in a
Those kind of problems.
in a different perspective, as we know, this European new privacy law is going to affect this situation further. So once each individual is going to get back this data on hand, it means we are going to recollect this data from individual. In other words, even though just in Google or just in Facebook, holding these individuals information, but if it's, for example, Japanese individual can ask Facebook, why not just bringing this back data on hand? Then why not just why not collecting this data by another Japanese company? In that case, this data can be fraud. So on this, maybe just in Japan, we seriously need to think about why not just implementing this this kind of individual privacy law as just in Europe, or just tries to just make.
So I think on topic of AI, you don't necessarily need the sensitive data to create effective AI tools for many cases. Like if you want to sort out some of the cucumbers or whatever, anything. You don't necessarily need the person's birthday or what he likes or anything. There are so many things that is left over. So I think we can, even though the government or the people's psychological feeling is not ready, I think we can start from there. Even like students' data. Students' data has like, either it's Sekiguchi-san or myself, but like you don't have to know. It's just one student's data, and it can make the AI learn and apply to the new people. So you don't necessarily have to tackle all the sensitive data and just pick up what you need. Then data is free. Not free, but like you can be more relaxed to use. And the second thing is that people providing data is really beneficial. People open up the data like the Google runs the program called Kaggle, some AI competition, provide the data, and all the data scientists contributes. And what they got is very little money, and they get great algorithms to solve the problem. not just finding like doctors and paying like $1 million, they can get easily and finding the hidden talents as well. So if you have a college to open up your data, and like Yano-san said, I think there are lots of data which should be integrated, aggregated, and find the new findings among the data. So that should happen in near future, in my opinion.
So I'm very curious. So probably the giving an individual the courage to open up the individual data is really needed to the education. Not education is a large word, but how people the individual privacy is protected.
I think once the Facebook launched, people are really afraid of using. Once the Google is here and people realize how Google pushes the message in Gmail, people are afraid. But you can't lose that communication, so they get used to it, and they don't hurt you. Facebook doesn't kill you, and maybe more advertisement that fits yourself, and which is like weird or strange. How does he know I want to learn more English, right? So that's strange, but that's helpful. That's why like people wins the benefits or the advantage versus the fear. So those type of things happens. And the second thing is, I think that the individual really follows what everybody else is doing. So need a time. Need a time to accept this, need a time to be able to contribute the data. But for the company or the enterprise, even the small companies have their own issues, own problems to solve. So I think the enterprise field have a more, urgency to utilize this technology to win the competition in the business. So individual, I think there are lots of psychological, like Japanese culture also really hurts us, but enterprise-wise, it's more business, so like you have to get the better results by not spending much. So I think the enterprise has a bit much easier barrier to enter in the data market, I think.
So in that sense, we will have to create a consensus, national consensus among consumers or Japanese people that we need to utilize information or data. So 4 or 5 years ago, when Hitachi was trying to utilize Suica's information, there's a very strong negative, impact. And then finally, Hitachi gave up that plan. But the Japanese people easily, giving up their information to Google, Amazon, fearing about that. So Japanese consumers are very strict to the Japanese companies, but not to American companies.
That's a very strange.
Very strange.
Very strange. And also media has a very different attitude towards Japanese company. For example, in a news article, NHK never use Hitachi, but they speak up about IBM, Watson, Google, very publicly. Very strange. They help foreign companies, not support. domestic companies.
Probably I try to explain that the different attitude is the people tend to worry about the within the boundary, right? But outside of the boundary, sometimes people don't have to afraid of something. But maybe situation is opposite.
Right.
Right. So I think education or some common understanding, consensus, and also I think more deep case is a cyber security issue. For example, U.S. watching is serious. Like national security agencies are watching a big transaction of all over the world and find out some transaction of terrorists, for example, and people maybe should be afraid of this kind of things, but not so much because probably some consensus is U.S. don't do not so bad things for the individual, but trying to the public safety. But if Chinese or Russians are doing this kind of things, maybe afraid, maybe not afraid. that's again the big things that to have. I'm not saying about the trust NSA of the U.S. Not really. We don't have that. But at the same time, we are discussing about Japan need NSA type second control over over some potential the terrorist or potential cyber attacker because to protect our own. Yeah. So that's consensus. We need to some power to somehow control the information, but to control, protect the information somehow, we need to create such kind of an agency like NSA. Wow, that's big political consensus is required.
Any other who have not speak?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm changing the subject a little bit. Speaking of public safety or security, I'm very much concerned about the possible spread of so-called AI driving. If all cars or most cars are AI driven, then I'm afraid that the whole traffic system would be very vulnerable to cyber attack from outside. For instance, North Korea does not need to drop a nuclear bomb onto Japan. They can disturb the whole traffic system. So, am I too pessimistic about that?
Any comments, especially something to happen?
So, usually if the civil make us unsafe, there should be some way of regulating AI driving to the point that mutual concession don't occur. So I think it's not the essential problem of AI driving, but some technical control of dangerous situations.
I think AI is very important to manage. That is the standards. And we are with AIWS. We have a third layer that is the standards for that. So I think Japan can contribute very much as a make standards in the AI, and also AI economy of Japan. As I talked with the general, that we as Japan can do very much in algorithm and neuroscience combined with AI, because many people think AI today is a big data, but I'm thinking about China, oh, very big data, and we cannot compete with China in big data and people market. But AI, I think not only the big data, AI is algorithm and neuroscience and combined with neuroscience and computer science to make AI, and robotics with AI is wonderful for Japan, because many countries see challenge from labor by worker and labor by AI. But I think this is a very advantage for Japan, because Japan lack labor force. So with robotics, with AI, that is very, very good for Japan in the future. And I think that is, Japan should do that. And also, why not? That is, Professor Hamada can make a new theory about AI economy for Japan.
No. I think
Yes.
the relationship between technology and labor is changing drastically right now. And now, before, technology helped productivity of workers, but now they are even substituting it. And that, I don't say that's bad thing. But I have, today is a good eye-opener on this subject for me, but I have a question to Sekiguchi-san. Is, if the government is reluctant to open up data opening of data, how we can proceed? What are the obstacles for making its growth? Or I also had paper, making everything paper on paper. No, paper into digital. There are very lags in Japanese industry relative to other countries, and those news are not very optimistic for me.
So what I think is that the important thing is to make people realize or feel that the benefit of giving up their information. So like Google or Amazon, if you give your information, you can get good recommendations. So that's why people know that. That's why they give up their information. But in the case of Japanese government, they just try to collect the information, but they don't give you benefit. So that's a big problem. And also in the area of medical data, medical organizations are really reluctant to give up the information.
So because of the ignorance of the bureaucrats?
No, so they are making money by giving lots of pharmaceuticals or over treatments.
favor.
Yeah, by utilizing the big data or AI, you can reduce the budget of medical treatment. So they don't want to have that kind of situation. That's why they are trying to conceal their information. So we will have to make Japanese people understand that if you give up your information, you can get more benefit. But according to the media's analysis, so they are trying to make you feel very nervous about giving your information. So you are losing your privacy or something. But we have to educate the Japanese people. Giving your information is good if it's securely treated, and it's good for the public health. So that kind of consensus is needed.
And actually, I pretty much agree with the Signichi-san. And additionally, I'm have my own complaint to so far the Japanese government treating to the individual data, especially the my card. That's a new number, like a U.S. Social Security number type. But it's completely different from Social Security number so far, because I have no idea how they're gonna utilize this so far. And I contributed a lot of writing and lecture something, and the end of the year, so many companies ask me to send me to the paper, the social numbers, and with a copy, and that's really ridiculous. I think the number is utilized for the paperless and quickly, like a Social Security number of the U.S. Actually, I've been the taxpayer of the United States longer than 10 years, and that was very convenient for the utilize for anything, like banking or something. And of course, that's easier to calculate the pension. Even I could get the pension from the U.S. government after 10 years, maybe, hopefully. But this kind of things probably targeted by the Japan's my number, but that doesn't happen so far. That's the same thing. Really need to education, and the people really need to get mad at the government practice, because some kind of inconvenience because of lack of knowledge or lack of the imagination.
Yes, so in the United States, many states use their social security number as driving numbers.
Yeah.
So it's open, but in this country, the government asks us to keep the number secret.
Right.
That's really interesting. Yes, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Right. Any comments or questions?
Yes. As Mr. Yanai said, I think autonomous cars are very vulnerable to the challenges by the hackers, like GPS signals or the vision sensors or in last year, like Honda, some type of new Honda car uses their own technology. Uses vision recognition for autonomous driving, and they mistake Tenkaipin ramen sign for the stopping sign, like Chinese restaurant sign for the traffic sign. So that kind of things easily happens, and I think it's very vulnerable for attacks.
What do you think about but making progress needs some trial and error.
Yeah.
We're not doing something we don't know. And especially,
That's good.
I attended a World Government Summit in Dubai in February, and many experts in AI area get together there and have many discussions, and actually it's interesting. For example, Nick Bostrom, he is very famous for the book titled Super Intelligence. He's a professor at Oxford University, and he wrote about the threats of AI in the future and concerns on the control and needs of the control of the AI in a very thick book. So I expect, or I suppose that he will propose the restrictions and regulation of AI, but actually when he was asked the needs for such a regulation of the AI, right now nobody knows the potential of AI. His answer was, nobody knows the potential and how to utilize AI in the society. So there is no reason to regulate AI right now. I think it's very, reasonable. So, because nobody knows real AI and real potential. So how to regulate? That's his, logic. And so it's quite interesting. And also, Kevin Kelly, the first Wired, the magazine, the first editor of the Wired magazine, he said that this is first time, best time ever for starting new thing, because nobody knows. Everybody knows big thing will happen, but nobody knows how to make money by this. So this timing is better than 1975 when Bill Gates started Microsoft, or better 1995 when Bezos started Amazon. That's his argument. And it's, there are very positive arguments, but.
So in regards to autonomous driving, I think that we should promote this technology, because so there might be risk, but even right now, more than 70% of fatal car accidents are caused by human error, particularly by elderly people. Yeah. So if we replace to autonomous driving, so we'll have a better situation. So that's my observation. And also in relation to the replacement by robotics, I think that's good. If robots can work for you, you have more leisure time and you can enjoy. So a human being can do something else, more very creative things like arts and music or whatever. So I think robotics, AI should be promoted and do more work. That's
So I just I partially agree with this. In that, clearly, artificial intelligence, AI, or how do you say, automated cars, tons of have the futures. The one large difference between AI car and the existing car is artificial intelligence security issues can be driven by just one person. But on the other hand, terrorism by using existing cars, we have to how do you say, make so many people engaged. It's a large difference because, as also Yero-san pointed out in the presentations, only one crazy person can affect a whole system by using the data. So leverage can be much larger by using artificial intelligence, and the leverage is tougher by using, our physical people. So it's, we have to be very careful, but at the same time, we have to monitor by knowing this risk.
So what do you think about such a risk and progress balance, or maybe
I think that
pro-trade-off?
at this stage, we should just make this as it is. Especially in the beginning stage, almost no one can just affect this whole system so easily. So especially at the beginning, we should just may have technology people do as they like. But at a certain point, let's say the more people are going to just use this artificial intelligence in cars and so on, we have to just monitor this carefully. So maybe at a certain point we should just support technology. At a certain point we have to monitor this further and further.
The person advocated the regulation to AI is somehow probably I try to understand that the emotion, right? Emotion is like maybe nuclear weapon is a kind of things, the similar one. In the future, maybe human beings cannot control such kind of fatal devices. But I think probably, but at the same time, very difficult to control the technology development. So probably what the person should ask the question is how we should control the crimes or some terrorism which would utilize a new technology. But that before such a new technology is invented, it's very impossible to imagine. So it's a kind of the classic way, but we should imagine, but we need to wait until the new technology is I think invented and impossible to control. That's probably our own I think wisdom over the conventional wisdom in the past.
There was a short booklet paperback I saw, and I was most interested in how AI can compose Mozart music. Probably my answer is it wouldn't, but probably there are lots of melodic idioms and so forth. So we may approach to some extent. You can compose commercial music and so forth. But for example, my friend reconstructed Natsume Soseki's last novel into modern one, and so the believers in AIs in this room would dare to that we can have more emotion or imitate emotion or artistic feeling and so forth.
I have a comment on that. I think the person who made the AI,
Yeah.
which produces fantastic, beautiful painting or music, the person who generates the AI should have respect. No, when picture, photograph or camera appeared, many people thought, it takes the reality. So who owns that, privilege of taking the picture? But as time goes by, we all know that photographer, even though it's a very real image, photographer has generated that, angle and lighting. So in that way, I think even if AI produced the results, somebody who made AI or who designed AI, who designed the configuration of AI, needs to have respect because of that creation. So any AI related thing is backed by somebody, human.
Human.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so now just STEAM education is very hot topic in the States. STEAM means science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So the reason is as just you pointed out, at the end, as humanity, it should be the center. But at the same time, just they need just about technology and so on. The one just problem in Japan, as we just we have is as we just discussed. Unfortunately, just Japanese education more focuses on memorization, so which can be easily attacked by artificial intelligence. But now just we have to just have more students focus on art and also just music and so on. So but just now this is a lag behind. Now MITI, not mixed, tries to foster this STEAM education further and further. Since mixed, it's a kind of so stubborn. To just to change the education, but it's now just a very just interesting topic. So
I have been writing in general economic article like that, so I now feel I came to some secure harbor, but I think Japanese education emphasized too much. My daughter was told in kindergarten, in the first class, that every child is different. That is the beginning of the education. So that's Japanese, that's American kindergarten. And Japanese education is killing the diversity and so forth. And recently, children's education, pre-age education is more important to enhance productivity. And again, this is from Hungary, but method, Kodai, or in Japanese, Suzuki method, created even scientists. Mr. Hayano, who is physicist, went to in Matsumoto City Suzuki method, and somehow he understood that his talent is not so great as his scientific mind. So he became nuclear physicist. He talks, and he is the Suzuki methods president also right now. So that kind of education is very important. Another example is what president of Kinki University, Mr. Shiozaki Hitoshi, told me, I agreed with his education not to enhance the hensachi, which is useless in this world, except some adaptivity to do clever things. But so I said diversity or individual kose, distinct talent and so forth is more important than getting good points and so. And I agreed with Kinki University's education that stress tuna fish, growing tuna fish, and so forth. He wrote me differently. He thinks he is a doctor. Diversity is okay, but more important is some kind of emotional, he said, cancer is more important. And probably if a student who high Hensachi just goes to medical profession just because he's strong like computer. That would be hard. So this kind of thinking is the only reason that I dare to join this. I'm, in a sense, I'm professional club here.
So let me make sure that the Suzuki method is education for the violin playing, right?
Yes.
Not just general education, but violin, how to learn the violin is making a physicist. Well, no, it's physicist, this kind of thing.
Some says, maybe not.
Right.
Just to make them remember histories,
Yeah.
years, or languages, and so forth. Maybe a decade in the past, but before 15 years of age, Mr. Hayano became a folk flute to be a violinist. And maybe I shouldn't too much advertise, but I was invited to Hungary because I gave a CD of my own music writing to Mita-san at the party. Not the ambassador at Mita-san's party, but the creator of the promoter or producer of that CD was once again from Suzuki method and came to Tokyo University as a concert master. He produced paperback recently about structured values, Mr. Nakano. But he also somehow didn't choose to become a musician, and that's a very curious thing. But I don't know, the music or method and so forth, I think for creation we need to forget everything, and that's white washed mind is most important, I think, in many creative activities. So I think music counts, and if music counts, fine arts should count as well.
So I think something
May I come back to the question of regulation? It is true that we still don't know the potentials of AI. So maybe it is too early to talk about regulation. But there are already foreseen problems. For instance, I'm sure that AI driving will eliminate most of the accidents caused by elderly drivers like myself. But that is a positive part of AI driving. But on the other hand, if AI system goes wrong and causes accidents, who should be accused? We still don't know how to do it. And so that kind of thing has to be regulated before this system is largely generally introduced. If an accident is caused by an AI-driven car, should we accuse the automotive manufacturer or the company who offers the AI system? That kind of thing is already foreseen. So we have to do something about that. So I'm against the regulation, general regulation of AI, but we have to cope with already known problems about the introduction of AI. Thank you.
So regarding that point, I think that in regards to autonomous driving, the Japanese government is almost, they're ready to decide that the owner of automotives will be, forced to have the responsibility. So that's already decided by the U.S. government. So that's a very important discussion, but it's also the matter of rule making. So if you make that rule, we can implement that rule. But so in that case, probably if your car is hacked by somebody else, you will have to be responsible. So maybe you might not be, you don't like it, that situation, and also your insurance company might not be happy. But the insurance company will have to understand that situation. Otherwise, we cannot proceed the developments of autonomous driving. So in this country, many people talk about the risk, so which makes the problem of development. So autonomous driving and also 3D printing and also drones, those areas, the area that the Japanese big firms are so behind because they always think about the risk. That's why they don't try to touch or get into that field. Even Hitachi Systems, they are working hard on how to use drones, but they don't make drones. Chinese DJI or those Chinese companies are making that products. So of course, service or application is more important, but in order to make better service, you need to have the products also as well. Because in Japan, we have a Japanese GPS service, so-called Michibiki. But the Chinese companies won't use that technology. So we have such good technology, maybe we'll be able to make a better drones or autonomous driving cars using Michibiki. So Hitachi should work hard.
On that point, I think it comes from the very basic difference of a basic approach. In the United States, if something happens, you will bring the case to a court, and it will be settled after that. But in Japan, rather, the basic approach is to try to prevent problems from happening. So there are always this kind of differences of approach. So I don't know which is better. Well,
so I think that such Japanese system worked very well in manufacturing sector, particularly analog manufacturing sector. So you always try to be perfect. But in the area of software, so you cannot have the perfect anytime. So all the companies like Amazon, Google, they release their software as a beta version. But this companies do not release any software until they find that there's no problem. That means you cannot release new products. So in order to develop new technologies, we will have to adapt a new idea, even in Japan. Of course, Japanese idea is good, but we will have to learn how American people are doing, or Chinese companies are doing.
Yeah, in addition that the Chinese government, government, also private company, really the face recognition is very popular. A lot of startups is now growing up, and also the government, the police, Chinese police use face recognition. Maybe it's not gonna happen in Japan. The people doesn't feel comfortable to be used their own face. But Chinese government use face information, face recognition system, and arrest the people who do the jaywalk. It's now regular, and also as a service, line pay, the face pay is getting popular, I heard. So the people also accept the service, and the Chinese government also use very proactively. So those atmosphere China has, and then Japan is always back off about that. So yeah, such a huge gap we have.
Yeah, as a startup, we have tons of difficulty to do business in Japan because usually just in public sectors and further large companies don't want to use small just startup just in products, but rather they prefer to do business among large companies or just large public sectors only ask large companies for just new just products. But it is completely different in the States and further in Europe it's a kind of, but in just Middle East they don't care. And this it's why just government always mention just to foster startups, but in reality it's tough for us to create business. Because if we are going to create a business with the government, this just size would be larger. In that case, we are going to have a more large opportunity to just leverage ourselves. But it's really tough in Japan.
This time.
Sorry, different issue. Back to talking about Sekiguchi-san mentioned medical-related data. Last year, I was a member of government-driven, social-driven national resilience promotion activities, which I still think it's very important because they deeply discuss about how to minimize the damage when you face mega earthquake like Nankai Trap. And we should have learned a lot from Higashi Nihon Daishi because like in Higashi Nihon Kumamoto. So we have to lower the level of damage. And all the key people got together. But one hurdle we faced was, again, like you said, sectionalism. And for example, prefecture to prefecture, you have to process tons of paperwork to move. Or like, denshi karuté, electronic, physical, medical data record, the format is so different and not comparable. So in case of Higashi Nihon Daishinsai, earthquake happened in Fukushima. The Fukushima and also an atomic
nuclear accident.
So the refugee, I would say refugee people who moved from Fukushima Ken to, for example, Tottori Ken or something, no medical data was available. And especially for the sick elderly people have hard time. And then the last year's committee decided, at least inside the committee decided two things. One is again more standardized on a common usable data, even though those are the personal data. So we have to set up, okay, when you live in a peaceful world, what kind of data is available or standard, common? When some contingency happen, what kind of a little more confidential data should be used for contingency? So that's conclusion number one. Conclusion number two, then using AI. So in those cases of contingency, definitely you are running out of the number of the doctors. So AI should check the level of first level of damage of the people, especially for the handicapped people. Those we discussed.
I'm just curious about your experience in Aigo. As Yuan-san said that Japanese have some unique attitude towards such kind of pet robots or Tetsuaton or Doraemon or something like that. So such a cultural uniqueness might have very different, allows us to have very different strategy and utilization of these AI, big data, robots.
Right, definitely. I didn't mention deeply last time, but of course, more and more Aibo lovers tend to be high touch lovers, high touch. So treat Aibo as a pet, and more and more, I would say, high tech, maybe. U.S. West Coast Silicon Valley people treated Aibo as high-tech things, and so sorry to say this, but I don't know if Aoki-san's that robot sells well in the U.S. or Silicon Valley, but definitely like あれなんていうんでしたっけパロ新しい
See you.
Yeah, Palo is doing well in Holland or those European areas. So, but definitely depends. So regional differences happens, and when we analyze customers' way of handling Aibo, again, a clear difference region by region. And of course, handling Aibo data is not that confidential. So that second new Aibo's, this is new Aibo's Sony's
Cute.
Thailand版なんですかSony's internal magazine says the new engineers involved in this new Aibos learned a lot from the first generation's way of activities and result. Then, using the full length of deep learning, they made a second generation products planning and software development.
And also you can use as a health data, like Sony can provide to the medical institute, right?
If they are alive or not.
Right, and also the maybe temperature and those things. So the Aibo now, new Aibo
is now connected to the net.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So even the remote distance data can be used. Right.
Really AI.
Good.
I'm not trying to collect too many personal secrets, but this group of people, many of you work in new discipline, a new area, and sometimes undefined area it seems, and have back and forth in some disciplines I suspect, or you stayed in robot, automatic, single discipline all your life. I'm just curious.
This might be the direct answer to your question. But when we had Carlos Gon-san in Sony's, some of the Sony's meeting, welcoming outside the famous people, as a gift, we presented Aibo to Carlos Gon-san. And we asked Gon-san what kind of language he'd like to have for Aibo, because at that time Aibo could speak and communicate in several languages. And he said definitely English, because you may know their hometown was Brazil, but in Japan now, Gon-san has had their kids go to the international school, where they now learn English. Then we presented Aibo with an English version of conversation, and a month later, Gon-san's secretary sent us a thank you letter that they played a lot with Aibo, and to enhance the level of English conversation skill. But by the way, edutainment is a key for AI. So I mean, future potential.
Yes. I would like to say more about AI politics because Governor Michael Dukakis in Boston, every week I meet with him and discuss work. He always asks me, Tony, how AI can make politics better, and because he talk now very much populism and also the politicians lie to people. So we think about that model, that is the AI politics. That means AI can measure and can make politics more transparency, more kindness and honest, and exactly exciting. In New Zealand, have a group, they create an AI politician. They for run office in New Zealand in 2020. And that is they named it SAM, S-A-M. That exciting. And he, that is the Walter Langier. He a professor from one university in New Zealand. He will come to Harvard on 25 of April in BGF G7 Summit Conference to talk about that. We invited him. And I think that is also with the International Court and Court, we are invited Ambassador Zanai advisor to build international court because AI international court, we can make that more that fair, that is in judgment and justify for any conflict in international. And I think that the topic is very exciting and that combine AI and politics and make politics better. And also Estonia, President Estonia, he is a great guy for IT and security, cybersecurity. Professor President Ives, he have just get award that AI, world leader in cybersecurity award in by BGF last December. He came to Boston to conference. He talked very impressive, and he also contribute very much about AI politics. And I think AI politics that been combined between AI technology and politicians. People, the leaders and politicians, they like and they are very honest. They want to make politics better and fair in the world. So that Ambassador Zanai, Governor Michael Dukakis very respect Ambassador Zanai, and he told me, I came here, I should talk and invite, and he will send official letter to Ambassador Zanai to contribute and advise for your international court with AI. Yeah, so I think why not Japan can play very important role in AI politics also. Yeah, not only business and politics.
It's a very interesting topic. So, I mean, at first, if we would like to just create AI politics, we have to generate data at first. So let me just, just show one example in the States. So Bridgewater, the largest hedge fund in the world, started radical transparency policy within a company. So just one person's all comments are evaluated by others every time. For example, let's say I'm talking, you have to just rate my logicalness, my creativity, and everything. And based upon this information, they just pointed out, rather than democracy, why not just doing idea meritocracy? So it means, if I'm logical enough, I can have a more voting rights on logical related policies. But everything I'm not so creative. I can't vote on creative policy parts. So then just by doing this for last 10 or 20 years, at the end this company becomes the largest hedge funds. And this now US policy makers, especially HBS, started to discuss whether it can be applied for politics or not. So then just, right now, one decision-making professor, I just forgot his name at HBS, started to talk with them. So maybe just it might be just an interesting topic to just think about this further.
One of our team members have created something like policy generating AI. Have already produced news release. The current situation is by using meta-analysis of many academic research data as input, and to combine them and to see what kind of political options will lead to some consequences. So we can visualize the total picture of your choice and total consequence, the bundle of consequences and the closeness or farness, those kind of grand picture is provided by the AI in its current situation. Something like this might be quite feasible in the future, but politics is very, something more than motive. So
The most respected person in economics, except maybe Paul Samuelson, is Kenneth Arrow. But his basic contribution is human society cannot reach to consensus if you impose reasonable postulates. So very negative result, we don't get anything concrete from that. But you are more rosy in that respect, but that big. But I have some general question. I was trained in more in theory, so for me to make some proposal statement, the part of the theoretical consideration about the situation matters more. But today's conversation was dominated that if we have data, then we can do everything. Is that true?
It's a very just interesting question because also I got just PhD in just econometrics, and that's clear just theory at first. So we just we are talking about data mining. Just data mining. People are just not just just how to say clever people, but they're just marketing people. They just tend to just garbage in, garbage out. However, recently this trend has been starting to just change because many people started to realize rather than assuming rational people, maybe just we are going to just check in each person's behavior further. And as you know, because behavior finance, behavior economics are now more large trend. It means for understanding these people's behavior finance, behavior economics, just in perspective, the data can show further rather than theory itself. So and this it's just kind of just very interesting because we want to just analyze economy from the analytics only by using analytics. Indeed, just it's a kind of limitation. But just if we are just expand our space to just behavior finance, behavior just in economics by just incorporating people's just sentiment and so on, maybe data might do something.
Very respectable defense of data.
So we've talked much, but maybe some final comments for each of you based on this discussion. Starting from.
Yeah, there are a lot of the perspective we can get, I think. I really recognize that the data is very important. That data will be the next oil. Yeah, I really recognize. So, and also as a Japan, we have to do more about AI compared to the other countries like the US and then China. As Fukuhara-san mentioned, that the startups who are get involved in AI should be more focused on. So as a media, we have to cover it more, and also we have to pay attention to the government structure, the regulation so far, I think. Thank you very much.
I want to, I would like to add more about AI in politics as she talked earlier. On 25, 26 in San Francisco, that is the Club de Madrid, the organization of former president, former prime minister, and they organized conference to build next generation democracy. So I came and I talked about AI in the US. So they now we combine and we are partner to build that next generation democracy. That is next politics, new politics with AI. So many ideas and we discussed today, but also they discussed about AI politics in San Francisco last month in February. So I think we will share our ideas and our discussion, and we will invite all us here join and to build a next generation democracy with the Club de Madrid and my colleague Institute. Yeah. Let's update on newest updates from that.
Thank you for sharing.
I will say
actually the work I've been doing for the happiness.
Yes.
Is actually in a global sense. I'd like to utilize.
Yes.
You know, Jeremy Bentham, British philosopher in 19th century. Maximum. Anyway, if we quantify happiness, he said, quantifying happiness directly leads to identify good and bad. So, in the age of Bentham, it was quite impossible to quantify happiness. But if we really quantify happiness, we can judge anything from whether that policy or that action will increase or decrease happiness or not. That makes things, you know, very simple. That's it. Anyway. Okay.
So I think what we need to know is that digital technologies development is exponential. So analog technologies development is gradual, but digital technology goes like this.
Right.
So when Google first introduced Waymo, autonomous driving car, that was I think in 2012. I think all of the people thought that that would happen maybe 20 years later. But in fact, 5 years after that, Audi released a level 3 autonomous driving car last year. So that happened only within 5 years. So the technology went up like this. So what I would like to suggest is that the Japanese government, policymakers, politicians, media, and companies, they really have to understand such exponential technology development curve. And then you should not put regulation at the early stage with prejudice. So maybe in 2012, Google's Waymo was not so capable. But now autonomous driving technology is so advanced, so you should not put the regulation at early stage. So in Japan, when drone came out, unfortunately in this country, first drone appeared on the roof of Prime Minister's residence house with nuclear stuff, right? So all of a sudden the law was introduced, and then now Japanese drone cannot fly at night, but drones will have lots of sensor technologies in the future. So drones can fly at night. So while people sleeping, I think drones should work. But if the current law is that, but that current law requires you to use drones only at daytime. So I think that's ridiculous. So we should get rid of such early stage regulation. That's what I'd like to say at the end.
So any, not, I don't know, who is trying to give final comments? Yeah.
Two things. One
Yeah.
is Mr. Yanai's comment about AI's who is covering the damage of the accident. Sony's automobile insurance. Sony Sompo's president is a good friend of mine, and he said this is a headache. So, and the simulation-wise and the financial cash flow-wise, they are struggling. Second thing is, I have not mentioned anything about my current job, current business, but I'm now deeply involved in, I would say, most advanced biometric solution using the finger vein authentication, similar to Hitachi's technology and Sony's original. And typical target market is medical and financial. And in case of medical, in Turkey, interesting, Turkey has a director, Erdogan. He, in a word, he decided to make a law to install vein authentication technology to all the hospitals and all the pharmacies in order to get rid of the financial fraud with prescription handling or copying his insurance card or something. So in that sense, Turkey is most advanced because it's a national law. And just bring nothing, go to the hospital, put your finger, and you are identified, and you are again electronic health record to be transmitted to the doctor who is to see you. So no mistake in identifying the patient and no mistake in identifying the doctor to see. And then after that, Turkey is now trying to use AI to review his or her historical record to get to the point with a largely shortened time. So that's indirectly related to my current job. Second thing is digital money. Always also largely affecting me. 3 years, one of our biggest revenue source is from China and working with Oki's ATM. So Oki's ATM is our finger vein things. So again, cardless, pin cardless, go to the ATM, then you withdraw or transfer any cash. But like well, China, no real money handling, more and more Alipay or WeChat. Then digital money, so like we discussed, all the current conventional rules are gone, so disruption. Then how do you guarantee you are you? That's a kind of raising problem issue. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I think the technology developed, and that's many ways government can control individual. So it's still very important to keep reminding healthy skepticism to the new technology. Even not itself, but may have a tool of some negative thing to society, like denying individual dignity or individual freedom. I think that's why I think I really expect the U.S. and the democratic leaders really the leader over technology. If not, situation is very getting dark. So I think Japan is a kind of the behind both sense. Is developing a technology and creating a rule and creating a healthy skepticism and healthy the democratic control over this kind of the new technology and society. I think probably that I guess that this meeting is very much focusing on this because I think U.S. side is pretty much liberal and individual freedom and democratic oriented people. So we could work on a lot of things. Thank you very much.
Well, I have very little to add to what I said earlier, but having heard very interesting views expressed today, I'm more convinced that we should promote the consideration of social, legal, and political aspects of AI, because the technological development of AI is so fast that other aspects, other considerations cannot really catch up. So perhaps the best way to promote the advantage of AI and minimize its dangers would be to a mixture of certain preventive regulation plus more flexible settlement of disputes or problems afterwards. And so it has to be, since we still don't know what will happen exactly, so it has to be a try and error process. But anyway, we have to promote and advance more rapidly the consideration of various aspects other than technological aspects.
Thank you. Because time is limited, please make it short.
Happiness is a concern of economics, but we have to have a multi-facet approach. I just finished, but I was once at London University and saw Jeremy Benson in his mirror.
Yeah. Thank you. So,
Yeah, so I will try to make it quick. As much as I work around AI, I think the human being is much better. People can drive, and at the same time they can play Go, and they can work, and they can have fun. So and happy. So I think many of the experts said singularity won't come in eternity is false. Will come, but not in near age. I think we should start discussing both experts in the politics, experts in the technology, experts in the governmental economics. Everybody needs to think about like what's gonna happen, and try to do the best guesses, and try to do the best we can. And if the technology overcome, I think we should revise it. I think we should be flexible to work on it. And the last thing to add is my company just started, so I'm also part of the startup like him. So if the assistance is there, we'll try to do the best we can. Thank you.
So I think the education will be the key for solving so many different issues in AI in two perspectives. At first, schools' education reform is really just required. As we know now, just at the age of 16, humanity concentration and science concentration are divided. So it is a really large issue because both ethics and technology are required. But just science major people don't learn enough about humanity and further ethics. On the other hand, humanity just majored people don't learn technology and math enough. So in this just new just generations, this just is going to affect our long-term just future. This is the first point. The second point, the role of just media. Clear just this many people are so much nervous or just fear about AI adoption. But indeed, this is a merit and a demerit. And this is just right balance understanding of people are so required. The media's role is going to be more. Thank you very much.
In today's discussion, I realized that we should be more aware of our private activity data, especially when we use foreign web services. Japanese people don't have access to our privacy data. That kind of situation can be happen. So we should be aware of that. And our robot, pillow robot with a tail, it's very welcomed by the foreign people, like the people, like the people in the U.S. And the reaction is kind of different. Like, in Japan, it's every people thinks it's cute or funny, but in the U.S., some people like 20 or 30% of people said it's so creepy and weird and can't even try to touch. But the rest of the people welcome and feels it very adorable. So yeah, I think in future I believe the companion robot will help people's life, and maybe in the next version we can sense happiness of the users by Yano senseis, or maybe the loneliness of my parents, or the angry, how angry my wife is. I believe that companion robot will have a lot of possibility, and it can generate a lot of data for the AIs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, it's time to finish this session. Thank you very much for your
Thank you so much for your very great, impressive AI for Society Roundtable in Tokyo today. Our content will selected and to introduce and put to conference at Harvard on 25 of April. That BGFG 7 Summit will collect put your ideas or talk for the conference. Thank you again for it. And also I would like to say again, always I came to Japan and Tokyo, I have feel very happiness and calm in my mind and I think that is feel very good and great. And we BCF Boston Global Forum and myself will try our best to help and support for Japan in international relationship more. Yeah. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。